Amore, 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 amore mio, in braccio te me scordo ogni dolor, voglio restar con te, sino me moro, voglio restar con te, sino me moro, fammi restar con te, sino me moro.
Thank you. That song is from Un maledetto imbroglio. It's a Roman folk song that was featured in the film Un maledetto imbroglio from 1959, directed by Pietro Germi. It also starred Pietro Germi and Claudia Cardinale and Franco Fabrizi. So Franco Fabrizi, the actor, debuted in Michelangelo Antonioni's Cronaca di un Amore, Chronicle of a Love, in 1950, but he came to prominence in 1953 in Federico Fellini's I Vitelloni. Now, another main character in I Vitelloni is Leopoldo Vannucci. So, in After the Fox, in 1966, Peter Sellers plays two characters, one named Aldo Vannucci, and the other named Federico Fabrizi. After the Fox is a universe. It's obviously referencing the Fellini, and he's parodying Fellini. But After the Fox, from the very beginning, is just a universe of film references and parodies. Sellers parodying Fellini. De Sica, who came to prominence in 1948 with The Bicycle Thief, parodies DeMille and himself. And well, Victor Mature, my dad, does double duty in this film. He parodies both the aging leading man image and his very own actual Hollywood film star image simultaneously. So I love those kinds of connections. I love the degrees of separation, especially in these kind of movies about making movies. So you got After the Fox, Day for Night, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, or even The Other Side of the Wind. So the more you know about the Italian neo-realist cinema, the French New Wave, American sword and sandal, noir, westerns, the more you catch the references, the more interesting it is, the more the humor comes out for you. And in this case, the funnier the film becomes, I think. The pedigree of After the Fox is notable. Vittorio De Sica, the director, is part of the triumvirate of the neo-realist Italian directors, Antonioni, De Sica, Fellini. And then you've got Neil Simon, this is his first screenplay. You've got Burt Bacharach, this is his first film score. You've got Peter Sellers at the height of his career at this point. And you've got Victor Mature, who's at the perfect moment in his own career to play this part. Now, during the writing and filming of After the Fox, Neil Simon had 3 plays running on Broadway: Barefoot in the Park, Little Me, and The Odd Couple. When he was writing the screenplays, he was living in London. When he was writing the screenplays of After the Fox and Barefoot in the Park simultaneously, he was living in London with his wife and daughters. After the Fox was filmed on location for several months on the Italian island of Ischia. And in the middle of filming, Simon received a message that he had won the Tony for The Odd Couple. And a few months later, when they were filming the Via Veneto scenes and the interior set scenes on sets at Cinecittà in Rome, Bob Fosse came to Rome to work with Neil Simon on their musical project, Sweet Charity, which, of course, we can connect straight back to Fellini and Nights of Cabiria, 1957, starring his wife, Giulietta Massina, and which was the origin of the American adaptation, Sweet Charity. Like I said, Peter Sellers is at the height of his career at this point. He's made films with Stanley Kubrick, Lolita, Dr. Strangelove. He's done his Pink Panthers. he's just finished What's New Pussycat, and he's starting, of course, his own production company, because that's what you do. A mutual acquaintance in London connects Neil Simon with Peter Sellers, and Sellers reads the After the Fox script and wants to produce it, and he immediately sees himself in the lead role, which we've established already. Sellers then, like Miguel said, calls up Vittorio De Sica, and who reads the script, and 1 week later De Sica agrees to direct the picture, and he's certain that he's going to be able to make this story socially relevant. So now, because Sellers and De Sica are on board, United Artists picks up the project and starts pre-production before Simon can even catch his breath. He barely is involved in any of this process at this point. It's his first film. Some say De Sica wanted to direct the film because he possibly wanted or needed more gambling money. But that was part of the draw, for sure, for him. But he also seems to really enjoy the chance to parody himself and his colleagues. As for the social commentary, Sellers proves his character to be a brilliant criminal. He knows that people will ignore his idiocy. Actually, the more idiotic he behaves, the more convincing his character becomes to the people he's trying to fool. And I think this was the social commentary De Sica was hoping to bring out in Simon's farcical screenplay. And this aspect of the film feels, well, quite modern and timely, even now, more than half a century later. Incidentally, Sellers did form a production company with the other British producer of After the Fox, and the project would be their first and their last. So, as casting began, as Miguel said, Sellers decides to cast his wife, the Swedish-born actress Britt Ekland, as the lead female, and so essentially his wife is playing his sister. But for the story and the film within the film to work, the third co-star absolutely had to be an internationally known, famous film star. One possibly whose career was on the decline and who might be hungry for a comeback. My dad had taken a 5-year break from filmmaking at this point. In 1957, he had made several films in Britain with Warwick Pictures. He'd made The Long Haul, co-starring Diana Dors, which was about the criminal aspect of the British trucking industry post-World War II. And he made another film with Warwick Pictures called Interpol, and that's interesting because it's a pre-Bond Bond film with most of the Bond production team, a similar concept, and it's with a Bond villain, Trevor Howard, and with Anita Ekberg. So then my dad he worked with Edgar Ulmer on the picture Hannibal, where he played the title role, and also The Tartars. He co-starred in The Tartars with Orson Welles. Now, Hannibal and The Tartars were Italian productions for the most part, and this 5-year hiatus, my dad, in this 5-year hiatus, he hadn't taken a break from films before, except when he did his service in World War II from 42 to 45. So this hiatus, I think, was him starting to think he didn't want to do this anymore. And he started to even more avidly pursue his other career, which was professional level golf, and he raised a lot of money for charity in golf tournaments and things. But I don't know, as Miguel said, Peter Sellers called, De Sica and Neil Simon called him and asked him to be a part of the project, and that might have been what got him to come back into films, but I think it was the script. I do. I think he was thrilled to work with those people and to get a chance to do a really great project after some of the not so great projects he'd done before he took a break. And so I think it was the script. It was perfectly crafted for him at this point in his life and his career, and I think he knew it. In After the Fox, my dad plays a famous Hollywood film star. He played a Hollywood star for the first time in 1941 on Broadway in Kurt Weill and Ira Gershwin's musical play Lady in the Dark. He played a version of himself in Head with the Monkees in 1968. But in After the Fox, he's essentially parodying himself. They even show a clip from his 1949 film, Easy Living. In 1966, my dad already has a real persona as a film star, rather than in 1941 on Broadway when he had been in only 4 films with 3 starring roles, one of which was playing a caveman in 1 Million BC. By 1966, my dad had made musicals and noirs and westerns and sword and sandal films. He'd starred as Doc Holliday in My Darling Clementine with John Ford, 1946, Cry of the City, 1948 with Robert Siodmak. He'd starred in the blockbuster Samson and Delilah with DeMille. Then there's another blockbuster, which is The Robe, which is arguably the first CinemaScope picture. So by now, by 1966, he has this entire A-list film career behind him, and which made his actual face as much a reference as his name. By 1966, my dad's face, Victor Mature's face, was a part of film history, and it alone could reference the degrees of separation between him and the entire global film industry. Anyway, After the Fox shows that my dad could really make fun of his own image and his age, and that takes skill and a certain strong, irreverent self-awareness. So, even the tagline in this film is Steve in film reference. You caught the pussycat, now chase the fox, right? And so Sellers had just starred in the Pink Panther films in 1965, and which was the year before After the Fox was released. What's New Pussycat? It was Woody Allen's first screenplay, and Woody Allen and Neil Simon had been staff writers together for Sid Caesar. So that was fun. One more cool thing about After the Fox is the theme song. Performed by the Hollies, who have been making hits since the 1960s. And one of their founding members went on to form Crosby, Stills, and Nash. It's the Nash part. And the Hollies, I found out, some collection of them, I'm not sure exactly who's original and who's been new for how long or whatever, but they'll be coming to LA this July and performing. It's interesting.
Can we request After the Fox?
Yeah.
The theme song, I do. I bet they do it. It's fun. I bet they do it with the animation, but
It's probably still stuck in their head.
It's not even a drinking game, because you just wouldn't be able to function anymore. So the theme song After the Fox is presented in a call and response style. You've got the Hollies, and then on the other side you've got Peter Sellers as the fox. So I think we should sing along. I think it's time to do it. You're all going to be the Hollies. You're all going to be Peter Sellers. So we're going to divide it right here, right down here. So Peter Sellers, the fox, the Hollies.
Who is the fox? I am the fox. Who are you? I am me. Who is me? Me is a thief. You made me poor, poor mother Grease. So after the fox, up to the hunt with jays and locks. So after the fox, someone is always chasing after the fox. Where is the gold? It's on the truck. Where's the truck? I won't tell. You must tell. I lie. You make your poor sister cry. So after the fox, up to the hunt with chains and locks. So after the fox, someone is always chasing after the fox. to the hunt with chains and locks. So